So this is going to be a bit of a special video, basically covering my favorite type of Spider-Man. The early 2000s was a pretty awesome year because, well, for one, Ultimate Spider-Man was a thing. I feel like a lot of people maybe forget about Ultimate Spider-Man, but there are 4 figures in this whole video. We'll start out with, each one individually. Because, to be honest, I didn't really want to split these guys up, mainly for the fact that, I don't know, they're all cool. I want to take a look at them all, and it would just be very time-consuming to do 4 individual videos on these guys, when I could just do one whole video, which is basically a retrospective, but, in a way, but we'll take a look at each one individually. 2 of them are full-on customs. One of them is just a repaint. But we'll take a look at Black Spidey first, since he is not custom. So, let's take a look at Black Spidey. So, take a look at Symbiote Spidey. I know I called him Black Spidey, but, he's technically not black. So I guess it's more preferable to call him Symbiote Spidey, since, he's not really black. Even though it's technically considered Black Spider-Man, but, the alien costume is more of a purple, which, honestly, I really do like. Some people really like the Black Spidey with the blue highlights, but there's just something about the purple that just makes him look so good. And this figure is amazing. Honestly, this figure's kind of slept on. It kind of just dropped out of nowhere. In a kind of, Amazon, multi-pack, which is, honestly, you could still get now, which is kind of crazy, so you can go out and get this guy right now for retail, maybe even cheaper, because I think they have deals on them, but I really absolutely love the purple plastic on this guy. It's like a marbling effect in some areas, but, overall, it just really just sells the look of Ultimate, symbiote costume Spider-Man. I really do love the purple. It's so shiny. It's so metallic. It just is so good. And on this teen body, I think this buck is actually pretty well for it. It does not have the white patches on the fists. I don't remember if it's accurate or not. It's been a while since I've picked up an Ultimate Spider-Man comic. Even though I do have in my room, I have a slight blemish on my spider symbol there for mine. But again, I don't know if the white patches, no non-existing white patches are accurate or not. I might paint them on if they are accurate. But for now, this figure is really, really great. And the symbol does go all the way in with the ab crunch too as well, front and, of course, to the back. I did get this figure through a trade, which I was pretty fortunate for, because, to be honest, didn't want a multi-pack, just to get this guy. But, this head sculpt is just really, really great. This is, the definitive symbiote Spidey. There's not much to talk about him, but he is really, really great, and I really do enjoy this figure, and I'm so glad that I was able to get it through a trade, and I got every accessory with him. But I will talk about accessories in a little bit, but this is probably hands down one of my favorite Spideys. Now let's talk classic red and blue. Now, right off the bat, and of course I drop him, right off the bat, this figure was perfect. Although there was some changes I wanted to make to him, just to kind of make him fit most of the comic art. As you can see, it is on the same body as the symbiote Spider-Man. I also got this one through the same trade with that symbiote Spidey, because I really did want some Ultimate Spider-Man figures. Shout out to that guy on Facebook that I did this trade with. Trade a couple Transformers stuff to him, and he gave me quite a bit of Marvel Legends stuff. Even some Sam Raimi Spidey figures too, which was pretty nice of him. But yeah, I didn't really do too much with this guy. It was just a, kind of slight repaint. And I did add cell shading too on him as well, to kind of give him more of that comic art kind of feel to him, because he did feel a little bit like a bland Marvel Legends figure. This specifically is the Spider-Man from the He did put, magnetics on the feet. Those weren't me. I do have to fix it, though. But what was I saying? Yeah. This is originally the Vulture and Spider-Man 2-pack figure. But that figure did not have the webbing on the side of the arms, so I had to paint those on. And of course, I did want to add the kind of effect of the kind of cell shading or comic shading. I tried to do it as best as I possibly could with the materials that I have. I probably should have done it with black paint, but I decided to pull out an old method of just taking a Sharpie and just putting it on there, just because I wanted to get it done. But, I might go back and just do it in paint and then add a clear coat on top of it. But for right now, I think it looks really, really good. And, of course, I did it on the insides there, too, as well. It's kind of hard to see because it really kind of contrasts with the blue a little bit, if that's the right terminology. But I tried to do it as best as I possibly could, using my own cel-shaded animated Spider-Man for reference and some comic art for reference. This guy was not exactly easy when it came to some certain aspects to him, especially with those arms. Those arms were a pain in the ass. But I think I did pretty decent on the cell shading. I didn't want to go too overboard with it, but I did want to make it look at least as good as possible. All the way around, I think it came out pretty well. I really do like the shaping of the spider symbol on the back. While it might not be 100% accurate, I still think it's really great. I really do like the teen body for a Spider-Man figure, at least Ultimate Spider-Man. They did a really nice job on this figure. Although, it'd be nice if he had butterfly joints. That would be really, really nice, but they didn't do that. Although, I do think this is a really great figure. He just needed a little bit of an upgrade. And of course, here's the arms. So, I did paint on the rest of his arms. I think I did well for the forearms. But I think for the bicep area, I went a little too heavy on the web lines. Yeah, I'm probably not going to go back and fix that. That was already a pain in the ass. But I think it looks as good as I could possibly get it to be. And it kind of blends in pretty decently well, so it's not too big of a deal. I really do like the spider logo on the chest there. And a lot of the web work that they already had on this figure was really, really great. That spider logo is really accurate to Ultimate Spider-Man. But the one thing I really did do was actually change the lenses. Now, I wanted to match kind of the cover of the video game a little bit and most of the comic art. And he kind of had these lenses where they were, kind of very pointy at the top. So I kind of had to sculpt them on. It got a little messy when it came to the lenses because one side looked a little bit different than the other. So I had to constantly keep going back at it and redoing it. I also added these little 2 sections on the lenses of kind of light gray, just to kind of emulate maybe that the lenses are shiny, because he did kind of have that in a lot of the artwork. And of course that interesting, almost looks like a crack in his lens. I don't know what that is. I think it's just a type of pen and ink style. But all in all, I think it came out pretty great, and I really do love the lens change. Now, let's talk about the 8 inches of Venom. So, here is 8 inches of Venom right in your face. Now, Venom was actually a really cool looking version of Venom. Well, at least this one. It was a really cool looking version of Venom in the Ultimate Comics. I really loved it. Although the symbiote itself was not an alien, if any of you know about the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, it actually was created in the lab for a cure for cancer. But I did add kind of clay to kind of fill up the feet. Now, this is the only way I was able to really capture Venom was with the Monster Venom body. And honestly, I think it came out pretty well. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else use or make a custom Ultimate Venom using this body before. At least I haven't come across one, but honestly, it works out really, really great because Venom in the Ultimate Comics was, kind of monstrous in a way. So, I mean, this is the only body I was able to really get that could really capture the essence of Ultimate Venom. and I think I did pretty well. Now, I really do love this Venom. I mean, he's cool, he's big, he's monstrous, and I just really love the purple highlights. I think I did really well on this guy with the purple highlights, mainly in the kind of torso area. When it came to the arms and legs, I kind of got a little bit sloppy and a little bit lazy, mainly because I didn't know what to do for the legs and arms. But for the most part, I think I did pretty well. And I did tease this guy in a kind of YouTube short and on my TikTok. If you guys follow my TikTok, I did tease this guy. I just, was going to come around to reviewing him and doing a video on him, but then a lot of other stuff came in the mail, and I was like, I got to get these reviews out first, so I kept pushing them back. And then I realized I wanted to do other Ultimate Spider-Man figures, so why not do it here in a whole, maybe gonna be an hour-long video of me talking about Ultimate Spider-Man figures. But, I mean, yeah, this thing is just great. I think I did the shading work pretty well as far as the torso is concerned. Sometimes in the arms, it kind of gets a little bit sloppy, but I think I did pretty good considering with the torso. And, of course, I did all the tendrils, too, as well. You can see them all around there. But I mean, yeah, and I can't believe I also found like this purple paint that I found was just absolutely perfect for this Venom, and I just couldn't wait to use it on him. This thing was kind of a figure in the making, let me just say that. But I really do like the sculpt work on this figure itself. I love the veins, I love the musculatures, and of course the little tendrils all around the body, which I did also paint too as well and shade. As you can see right there. But this guy, again, was a figure in the making. I had a first version of this, which looked exactly like this, but it wasn't painted this nice. It was kind of shitty, and it wasn't painted as well. But then I redid him, and then this is the final look for him, and came out very, very, very well. Now, I do want to talk about this head, but this guy is so big, I can't really get him into that frame where I can really talk about the head, so I'm going to have to pop his head off. It's a little bit unorthodox for me to do this, but I'm going to have to. So, popping the head off, pretty much what I did was just built off of the existing Monster Venom head. I cut the bottom row of teeth off of the head, and then just kind of added the more kind of, exaggerated teeth that Ultimate Venom has. Painted the head black, left the tongue, because I think the tongue's perfect, and then I just kind of shaded it around. I shaded a lot of these portions here around the jaw and the head, and on the insides of the mouth. Try to get it all looking good as possible. Might have to repaint these teeth. They look a little bit worse for wear, but I really do love this tongue. This tongue just worked out perfectly for this head sculpt. And it reminds me of the one comic cover. If you guys know what I'm talking about, there's this comic cover where he's kind of like, almost like screaming at the sky. And I don't know, I think this thing just looks really, really good. Sorry if you heard me kind of almost burp there. I did eat a banana and my stomach is a little bit fucked up. But I mean, yeah, this head's really good. Honestly, the eyes were really hard to paint, too. Those were not exactly the easiest thing to do, but I'm just glad they came out right, and they came out great and symmetrical as possible that I could possibly get it. But, I mean, just looking at this guy, it just looks like he got ripped straight out of the comic book. I mean, this thing looks so nice, and if you're looking to make a Ultimate Venom, I would definitely recommend using this body because it works out very well, and plus, it just looks so good. Now, let's talk about my most recent custom. Now, this figure, Carnage, here, I already have an Ultimate Carnage figure, don't get me wrong. I have the Marvel Select one. Please stand. Okay, anyway. I have the Marvel Select one, but I absolutely need a Marvel Legends one in scale. And unfortunately, the Marvel Legends team just decided to forget about Ultimate Spider-Man, didn't do an Ultimate Venom, didn't do an Ultimate Carnage. But I wanted to make one so bad. And I've been working on this guy for quite a while now. It's been like at least like a week and a half. And I just finished him just in time to make this video. I use the Teenage Peter Parker body because if you don't know, in the Ultimate Comics, Ultimate Carnage basically is Peter, but he has this symbiote, and the symbiote has been spliced with his kind of blood, and that's what creates Carnage in the Ultimate Comics. And I think that's an interesting way to do Carnage, not exactly having it birth from Venom, but in a way, technically birth from Venom. I don't know. It's a little bit confusing, I know. Doesn't make too much sense. It's not traditional Carnage, but it is the most monstrous version of Carnage, I think. Because this Carnage here basically sucks the soul out of people. Yeah, he sucks people's souls. And I think that's dope as fuck. This Carnage has probably one of the coolest designs I've probably ever seen in the Marvel Universe. And he's by far one of my favorite versions of Carnage. I did a lot for this guy. I put a lot of love into this guy. No homo, but I really do love this guy. Like, it's my favorite version of Carnage. I wanted to go all out with it as I possibly could. And I wanted to do it on the Peter Parker body, just because I felt like it was right. I just felt like, because technically it is Peter, so it has to have that kind of scale to him. Maybe a little bit beefier, but that's why I added musculature on him. So with some parts, which I will go into detail here, I actually added some extra muscle into some certain parts. It's a little hard to see, but when you can see it there, it is there. I painted them all in red, added these kind of muscular bits on here. Those are mainly to hold in the tendrils so they don't just pop off, because I did glue them on. But they do add little extra muscle just to make them just a slight bit bulkier and beefier. I did add them on the forearms too, so there's one on that forearm, and of course there is on the other forearm too as well, just to make them a little bit bulky. I honestly think my shade work is the best on this guy, because I really did take my time with this dude, and honestly, he came out perfect. I don't think there's a single thing I would change on this guy, other than maybe I would have dyed the figure first, that way some of these joints weren't showing like blue. But I mean, the shade work that I did, the paint work like on the feet there, even just on the feet, like those things are just done so beautifully. I know I'm glazing my own work right now, but I mean, this is one of my best customs, I think. By far, this is one of my best customs, at least when it comes to like just a full bare bone from the bottom up custom. I think this is the best I've done. I love my own shade work when it came to this guy, because this guy was not easy at all, and I'm glad he came out as good as he did, because I mean, I wanted this guy to look so good, and I always imagined what a Marvel Legends Ultimate Carnage would be like, and to be honest, this really is honestly what I thought he'd look like. I know Hasbro would never make something this detailed or this cool, but I'm just glad that I was able to make one. I did a lot of detail with the shade work. A lot of these tendrils came from the actual Bucky Cap Carnage body and back piece, and I just kind of glued it on and made it look all crazy looking. These hands were Spider-Man wall-crawling hands. I got slightly bigger ones to put on this guy, so that way his claw hands look just a little bit bigger, so he just has a little bit more of a presence, and he doesn't feel like he's too small in certain areas, because, to be honest, in the comics, he did have pretty big hands, and he was kind of like a scrawny kind of looking Carnage with these like big, massive claw hands, so I wanted to emulate that there. I cut off 2 of the fingers and just sculpted the claws on. But even then, I did a little bit of the kind of like shade work too and everything on the shoulders, and everything. This guy is just so good. I'm going to be going over this guy quite a bit. Nothing on him is actually hindered. So the articulation is all completely the same. Nothing has been interfered with. You can move every single joint. He's damn near perfect. Although I am still going to be careful with him. I don't want to rip the tendrils off. But I mean, yeah. This guy, I mean, the shading there on the inside too of the arms on both sides, I think I did pretty well. The one thing that was really difficult was this chest piece. For the life of me, I tried so many things, and this is the end result pretty much. I think I did decent. I tried to make it look a little bit, kind of gradient with the colors. But the other thing I did do is I actually sculpted on the neck. So I don't know if you can see around the neck there, but I actually sculpted on it to make it feel a little bit wider. Because if you don't know, Carnage doesn't exactly have a defined neck and head. It kind of feels more like all one piece. So what I tried to do is sculpt the neck out to make it feel like it's all one piece. So that way it didn't really feel too, detached. But I still wanted him to have a movable head. I didn't want to just make his head stationary. So I think what I ended up with honestly wasn't that bad. And of course I did shade work around that to kind of define it out. I added a lot of those little kind of musculature tension pieces of clay just to kind of insinuate some small differences and to make him just feel a little bit more lifelike, like he just popped out of the comics. A lot of these black dots everywhere too, that's actually accurate to the in-comic counterpart. I don't know, it's a little of an interesting design choice, but I translated it as best I could. I didn't do too much shading on the back, mainly due to the fact that I couldn't really see him from the back, and I didn't want to go too crazy. But I think, honestly, he came out as good as I was possibly going to get him. Did a little bit of shading on the back, just to kind of, make it work. And, of course, I took one of the tendrils that actually worked really perfectly for the head, and I glued it on the head, sculpted over the head, too, as well, and then I painted up the head, too, as well. Painted these teeth up, make them look a little bit, try to make them have, like, that gradient look to them with the orange and the yellow. Now, this head is damn near perfect. It's just as perfect as my Ultimate Venom, although that eye right there is a little bit smaller than the other eye, which I can kind of notice. But, honestly, I think it adds to the crazy effect, because even in the comics, like, sometimes his eyes were drawn. One was a little bit shorter than the other, or smaller than the other. But all in all, this thing came out fucking great. I know I'm swearing a lot. Sometimes I swear on this channel. My stuff is not made for kids. But sometimes I swear, but I mean, I try not to swear too many times. I know some kids might be watching. But I mean, I'm going to be honest, this guy's fucking cool. And he just looks so good. Like, I mean, this head is just really, really nicely painted by me. There are fingerprint marks just because I'm impatient and I like to get things done, but I don't care about fingerprint marks when it comes to customs that are made just for me. I don't care if I put fingerprints on it. I'm still going to like it just the same. And, I mean, sculpting this head was honestly not as hard as I thought it was going to be. The teeth weren't that hard to sculpt. I did sculpt the bottom row teeth a little bit lower on the jaw just to kind of make it look like the head was attached to the neck and everything like that to make it feel all seamless. But honestly, I think it came out pretty great. And just having an Ultimate Carnage figure in Marvel Legends scale just makes me as happy as I possibly could be. Because this thing looks so good. I mean, honestly, just looking at this thing right now, it just feels like it popped right off the page. By far, probably one of my favorite customs I've done. He's just really, really good. But I think it's about time we take a look at the accessories. So, when it comes down to accessories, let's start out with the two Spideys first. So, both Spideys here, at least for this one, I didn't really get all the fists for him. All I got was just the one fist and the one thwipper. I'm missing a thwipper and a fist. He didn't give me those, but that's fine. And then the other hands I got with him are wall crawlers, because, of course, you need wall crawlers, you know. I'm glad he gave me 2 wall crawlers, because I can deal with just the 1 Thwipper and the 1 Fist. As for Black Spidey, though, I did get all of the accessories, so first up, I do have the Fist, just normal traditional Spidey Fist. Nothing really too much going on. And, of course, I got 2 Thwippers, which I don't remember if Symbiote Spider-Man in Ultimate used them. But I do also have wall crawlers, too, as well. So I'm at least happy to get those. And he also did actually throw in a kind of web accessory. So I can kind of show off the web accessory a little bit. And it's pretty nice. Just made out of wire and kind of, you know, bent around. And honestly, he was right. It does actually look like the Ultimate Spider-Man webs. Now, when it comes to the integration with the web, it's pretty simple. You just kind of take the hand off and place it on the peg. So just going to take this hand, slip the peg on through the hole, and then we're just going to, you know, plug in the hand, and there you go. That's pretty much the integration for the web that the guy sent along with the figures, and honestly, it works out pretty well, and I kind of wish Hasbro would do this, to be honest, with web effects. Unfortunately, we just kind of get the shitty ones, unfortunately. Now, you can also use this web with the Black Spider-Man. You can pretty much use this web with any Spider-Man figure. It doesn't have to be the Ultimate Spider-Man figures. You can probably use it with the classic Spidey, with MCU Spidey, with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. You can use it with anyone. It's just, it feels a little bit more like a comic book Spidey web, at least in my opinion, but it works the same all around. It's not made for any particular figure, so I can actually put it on the black suit here if I wanted to, and, you know, it doesn't look, you know, too terrible. Probably will use it for original, though. I almost forgot. The guy actually threw in something else with this figure, and it actually is the unmasked head. So here's pretty much the Ultimate Spider-Man, you know, Peter Parker head. Right off the bat, not a big fan of the red eyebrows. That's just how they made this head sculpt, which is just really weird. Eyebrows just feel a little bit red for some weird-ass reason. But it's sculpted really nice. It does look like he did in the comics, and, of course, in the game, too, as well. So you just take off the head here, and we could just place on the Peter Parker head sculpt, and it looks pretty good. Doesn't look too bad. And it's a nice little Ultimate Spidey head, and of course you can also use it with the black suit too as well. So bringing in the symbiote suit here, I'm just going to take the head off the original, and just taking in the symbiote suit, just take the head off and place the unmasked head on, and it does look just as good, if not, you know, a little bit cooler, just because I really do love the black suit. But it's not bad, and there I go, dropping them, but yeah, it's not terrible, but definitely not going to display it like this. Unfortunately, I don't have any accessories for Venom and Carnage, so they're kind of just their own thing. Didn't make them. But let's talk about the articulation. So, starting out with just the classic, regular Ultimate Spider-Man, he's going to have some pretty minor articulation. Both black suit and the regular regular Spidey have the same body. Same with Carnage, but Carnage will be a little bit different. So, I mean, the articulation will pretty much be around the same. So, head can look down about that far. Decent range, not too bad. Head can look up pretty much about that far, so you can get some decent poses out of it. Does spin a full 360, and there is some slight tilting, not too much going on. No butterfly joints, but the arm can do a full 360 all the way around. Arm can go out about that far. Does have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, hinge and swivel at the wrists right there. And then as far as the body goes, he does have an ab crunch that goes forward about that far and back pretty much about that far. There is a waist swivel going on right there. The legs can kick up about that far. Kick back, not so much. He does have a thigh rotation, double jointed knees, and a calf cut. And then for the foot, they can go up pretty much non-existent, back pretty far, and there is a pivot in the ankle. So that's pretty much for regular Spidey. Now, Black Spidey's pretty much going to be, just about the same. Now, here we have the symbiote Spidey. Again, articulation is going to be the same, so head can go down pretty much about that far, and can go up pretty much about that far. Does have 360 rotation. Yet again, there is tilt to the head. No butterfly joints. Arm can go a full 360. Goes up about that far. Bicep swivel. Double hinged elbows. And a hinge and swivel at the wrist. And of course, the abs do have a crunch. So it crunches forward about that far. Back about that far. And then, of course, a waist swivel there. Legs can kick up about that far. Back, not so much. There is a thigh cut, and it has double jointed knees with a boot cut, and the foot can go up, not so much. Back, pretty far, and he does have, again, an ankle pivot. So pretty much the same as the classic Spidey, just colored in the symbiote Spider-Man color scheme. Now, here we have Ultimate Venom. So for Venom, he's going to be pretty kind of, limited, because he is a bigger figure and he's just really big and bulky. But as far as the head can pretty much go up about that far. That's pretty much as far as it goes. And can go down pretty much that far. The head can spin all the way around. Full 360. Slight tilt. Very, very, very slight tilt. He does not have any butterfly joints at all. But the arm can spin a full 360, and it can hinge up pretty much, I'd say, about that far. He does also have a bicep swivel, although it is very, very stiff. If I can get it, there we go. He has a bicep swivel there. Single hinged jointed elbow, so it goes about 90 degrees almost. And a hinge and swivel at the wrist. Right there, it is very, very stiff. And then as far as the torso goes, he does have an ab crunch. He can crunch forward about that far, and he can crunch back pretty much about that far. Does have a waist swivel too as well. The legs can go up about that far, and they can go pretty much back about that far. Swivel at the thigh, double jointed knees that pretty much go almost all the way. He's really big and bulky, so that's as far as you're going to get. As for the foot, there is a calf cut right there. The foot can go down pretty far. And as far as going forward goes, pretty decent, not too terrible. And he does have a ankle pivot. Now, there's a little bit of paint coming off that foot there. It's a little strange. But, yeah, Venom's pretty decently articulated. Nothing too crazy or too, extra with him. He will just kind of sit there on the shelf. Now, as for Carnage, he's going to be similar to the Spider-Man figures, although he is going to have differences, mainly due to the fact that there's a lot of sculpted stuff on him, so the range might be a little bit different, and there is just a lot of tendrils that are glued on, so I don't want those to, rip off, so I'm going to be as careful as I possibly can with this guy. But as far as the head, he can look down about that far, he can look up pretty far, not too terrible. And then, of course, he does have a swivel ability, so he can pretty much do a full rotation all the way around, although getting around those tendrils is a little bit frightening, because I don't want to pop them off. And then he does a little bit of tilt. Again, no butterfly joints, but the arm can spin a full 360, pretty much almost all the way around. If you get him around the symbiote tendrils, the arm can go up about, I'd say, that far. And he does have a bicep swivel too as well. Double jointed elbows that go about that far before they start hitting the kind of sculpted plastic. Hinge and swivel at the wrists right there. All pretty nice. And then as far as the torso goes, it's pretty much the same as the Spider-Man figures. He can crunch forward about that far, although his crunch is quite stiff compared to the other ones. And it can go back pretty much about that far.
And he does have a waist swivel too as well. Just want to make sure these tendrils aren't coming off. He does have a waist swivel. I tried to make sure I didn't compromise the articulation at all, so the legs have full range, everything too. Thigh cut, double jointed knees right there. Still has the boot cut too as well. Foot can go down about that far. Foot can go up a decent little bit. And he does have ankle pivots. So making this guy was pretty fun, but I wanted to make sure I kept the articulation intact. But with articulation out of the way, it's about time we do a pose test. While doing the pose test, the spider just showed up, so kind of fitting. Anyway, it's about time we do the scaling. I hope you enjoyed the pose test, but I'm going to do a little, kind of a fast-paced scale comparison, just because, most of these guys are around the same height, and I don't want to really be too crazy on it, but here we have them next to the Marvel Legends No Way Home, Tobey Maguire. See how they look next to how the teen body looks next to like a regular MCU type of more adult body figure. And I think they scale pretty well considering, Ultimate Spider-Man is supposed to be a teenager. And of course, here's the SH Figure Arts No Way Home Tobey Maguire. Just to see how they look next to each other, since Figure Arts is a slightly smaller scale. I think they scale better with the Marvel Legends one as opposed to the Figure Arts, but of course here is my finished and waiting on a video to be made on it. My finished custom Marvel, not Marvel Legends, Figure Arts Black Suit Spidey. And so that's how they look next to the Figure Arts figures. Now for some animated stuff, here he is next to at least the Black Suit animated, next to the Ultimate Spider-Man animated. And I would show the comparison between my regular animated Spidey, but unfortunately, some figures I wanted to compare in this video are kind of out of my reach. So now, here is Venom and Carnage. Now we'll compare them to some of their counterparts. Mainly, Venom here. But, of course, we have the animated series Venom here. And surprisingly, they're almost the same exact height as the animated Venom here, which is kind of crazy. So animated Venom is almost the height of the monster Venom, which is pretty nuts. Just goes to show how huge this animated Venom actually is. And there goes Carnage falling again. These figures have a really bad time wanting to stand for me, unfortunately. But as you can see, they don't look too bad next to the animated Venom, because as far as I know, this animated Venom is the biggest Venom we've had, I think. And, of course, here is my technically Todd McFarlane-esque Venom, which I desperately need to redo. But you can see the Todd McFarlane-style Venom next to the Ultimate Venom. Looks really nice. I love the Todd McFarlane Venom. But, taking him out, let's bring in Movie Venom, since Movie Venom's like the other tallest Venom figure we've had. And as you can see, wow, actually, Movie Venom's bigger. That's kind of interesting. Was not expecting him to actually be bigger than Monster Venom, and there goes Monster Venom wanting to fucking fall over. I hate when this thing just wants to fall over sometimes, but anyway, that's pretty much it for the Venom comparisons. Now, I want to do just one Carnage comparison. Now, the reason I want to do just one Carnage comparison is simply because, well, my other Carnage figures, I wanted to compare it with the movie one, and I wanted to compare it with the comic one. But unfortunately, those figures are a little bit out of reach and in my display, and I don't want to knock things over right now. But for a long time, there's only been one Ultimate Carnage figure ever created, and that was by Marvel Select. And of course, here's the Marvel Select Carnage. I've still had it from all these years. It was my first Carnage figure, I'd say, my very first Carnage figure I've ever had. And honestly, it still stands the test of time. It still looks really, really good. Now, this figure, the company kind of took their own liberties when it came to the design and the colors a little bit, as you could tell, because the way I painted my Marvel Legends one up is actually how he's supposed to look in the comics. But just taking a quick look at this Ultimate Carnage from Marvel Select, honestly, it was not a bad figure. It never was a bad figure. It's sculpted beautifully. I love the rubber tendrils all over the body. The head being rubber is pretty cool. So you can see the rubbery tendrils all around him. It's a very nice rubbery head, and you can get some articulation out of it. Although the head is degrading just a little bit. I really don't want to really degrade it anymore. But I mean, yeah, I really did like the paint for this figure. I think it just looked really nice. I loved the sculpt work always for this figure. And it was just a nice figure to have, and of course I still do have the figure. It's a beautiful looking representation of Ultimate Carnage. I just wish Marvel Legends would and Hasbro would just do some Ultimate Spider-Man figures, because, I mean, these character designs are just super, super nice and super nuts. But, you know, there's a vast difference between this figure and, of course, the one that I have done. You can tell with all the color stuff, like with this figure here, my camera wants to stop doing this weird focus thing. But there's some difference with these guys, like, of course, the eye colors. The eyes on mine are orange, while the eyes on this one are blue. I don't know where they got the blue eye thing from, and the kind of white faded color on the chest and some of this design. I don't know where they got that from, but honestly, I'm kind of glad they did it, just because it looks, you know, really interesting. But obviously, the one that I did up and made is more comic accurate. But anyway, let's take a look at the final thoughts. As for the Ultimate Classic Suit Spidey first, this figure is great, and, you know, the teen body's not too bad, and I can say the same for the Black Suit Spidey. I do wish that I got the extra hands from the guy I had traded with, but, you know, it's alright. I got the hands that I needed to for it. Very nice color contrast with this, and then, of course, you know, painting on top of it and giving it that kind of a cell shade really made this figure just pop out, just look really, really, really nice. I really do love the Ultimate Spidey look, just because it reminds me of the early 2000s, and when I, you know, was growing up and stuff like that. This was a Spider-Man that was a big staple in my life, and of course the unmasked head looks really good with it too. So all in all, I really do like this Spidey. Now, as for the black suit, pretty much the same thing, you know, with the classic Spidey. It's on the teen body. You can't really go wrong with the teen body at all. I think it has a really nice look to it. I love how Hasbro went with a kind of very metallic purple plastic, and it just fits the Ultimate Spider-Man black suit, and it just looks really, really nice, because this purple really pops, and it's super shiny and super great. Glad the seller gave me all of the accessories with this guy. I really do love the spider logo and everything. Probably one of my favorite symbiote logos is the Ultimate Spider-Man logo. And even with the unmasked head, he looks pretty good. Now, as for Venom, Venom was a really interesting and fun project to do, because the monster body honestly works really great for him, because he was kind of big and monstrous in the series and in the game too as well. And I think, honestly, I did a really good job with this purple shading in a lot of the areas. Some areas are a little bit iffy, but I think for the most part, I did a pretty good job when it came to the shading. The head sculpt was not exactly the easiest to do, I had to look at a lot of reference photos, and especially with the eyes, but I think I got the eyes down pretty well. And this figure, this is its second version that I made, and this is probably going to be its last version, just because I think it looks perfect now. Like, this is the perfect Ultimate Venom, because the first time I did it around, really didn't look all that good. It was kind of bad. Now, Ultimate Carnage, this was a figure I've been wanting to make for a long time, but I've never figured out a way to do it. But then now finally having, because he gave me an extra Ultimate Spider-Man body, so I was like, you know what? This could actually work. And I ended up making it work. I kind of stripped down a regular Marvel Legends Carnage, used all the tendrils, and just sculpted over the regular main body of an Ultimate Spidey body. And honestly, it came out pretty well because, Carnage in the Ultimate Universe is just supposed to be Spider-Man, but with a symbiote that's been fused with his blood. And honestly, it came out really, really well. The articulation isn't hindered at all. He looks super good. My paint work on this thing was probably my best paint job I think I've ever done in a long time. But anyway, that's it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and